Uh, it was a great year last year, just didn't finish, the way we wanted it. So another opportunity, a lot of new players, probably a little bit of uh, a little period where we have to, continue to bond, but I feel good about where we're at as a team. And, and I guess modern day Division I baseball at this level, there's always going to be so many roster changes. You just never know how it's going to go. But if fall is any indication, the team seems to be close and probably about as close as we could hope this time with this many new guys. So just really looking forward to getting it going.
Dave, will y'all be breaking out the parkas on Sunday, or do you anticipate a schedule change this weekend?
Yeah, we're going to do I think we're going to announce something today I think at 1:30. So probably not supposed to say anything till that, but I guess common sense probably would go that way if you look at it.
And have you settled on your rotation for this weekend?
Yes, and we've actually exchanged with Washington State, and we'll go with Gackle. Game 1, game 2 will be Root, 3 will be Wood, and 4 will be Bottle Cheese.
And what kind of went into the decision? I think we mostly knew Gackle, Root would be 1, 2. What went into the decision to that order with Wood and Bile Cheese?
Yeah, I think there wasn't a whole lot to making that decision, honestly. It was just we have 4 games this weekend. The difference between 3 and 4, it's more of we want to go right-hander the first game. We want to go lefty, come back with a righty, and then a lefty. There's no science to it, so to speak. Wood's been really good. We've hit him a little bit lately. I think he's been frustrated, but his stuff's been good. I think, when you start to see our guys swinging the bats against our own pitching, we get pretty familiar with them. And sometimes that happens a little bit. So excited about those 4. And, there's a lot of games and things could change, and I'm sure they will some. And but I feel good about our bullpen as well. So we feel good about the guys coming off of them.
Yeah, just I guess with Vital Cheese and Wood in particular, I mean, are you telling them like, hey, this week 1 the competition kind of continues, or is most of the competition by now it's you've had all fall and spring?
I've let Coach Hobbs handle that, and he met with all of our starters, those 4, and talked to them about this weekend, and maybe there was some why we're doing this in there. He just said it went good, so we didn't go and get into detail about it. I think our guys are just team guys, and that's what we've been preaching since they walked in the door, and probably before we signed them or committed them, that's what we're all about here. And, when you get 2 kids showing up that are one's pitching number 1 in the rotation and one's pitching number 2 behind a first rounder that was draft eligible, I think that shows a little bit about their character and that they are team guys. They knew that we had Gackle coming back, and he was projected to be pretty good here, and they still came. So I feel good about where we're at there mentally.
It seems like in the outfield, like you could play both Diggs and Pepe out there, but you, especially in the scrimmages, have had Justin Thomas playing in left. What is it about him that makes him such a valuable piece and fitting everybody around like that?
Which one? Pepe
Justin Thomas.
Thomas is a really good base runner. He's an outstanding defender, and he's a good hitter. He's really streaky. When he first got here, he wanted to pull everything, and he's swinging and missing and doing things, pulling off the ball. But he's made some adjustments. He's been really coachable and really likable. And what I mean by that is, when you have kids that want to get better and, they're not hung up on playing center field or, pouting around because we've got pushed to left because Davlin played so well since the day he walked in the door. He just continued to get better. And I knew he was going to be our center fielder, at least starting the season, because I knew he was going to be in the lineup. If they both would have walked in the door hot as can be and just done great, it made it a little tougher on me, but they're both good outfielders. But, I think Thomas is a guy that he just brings a lot to the game, because he's got some tools. He can steal a base for you. He can make a play. He can hit a home run, all fields, and he's going to hit some doubles and triples. So he's valuable. And, just to answer your question before you asked me, Pepe's starting at first.
You read my mind. So the Washington State, what have you researched so far? Can you give us a little brief scouting report on what
Yeah,
they
I
bring?
mean, our scouting report is brief, I mean, to the point where, if we wanted to do some shifting in the infield, so to speak, we really can't do it yet. We don't have enough info. There's not enough on these guys because there's so few at bats to go by. I mean, their starting pitcher, we have 3 pitches, and that's him throwing in a fall scrimmage, I think, or maybe it was junior college. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. We don't have a bunch of swings against him to go off of, and so what you do is you just play baseball and you kind of set them up straight up out there and you watch swings and see what they're doing. You make notes, and maybe game 2 you do a little more, or maybe the third at bat you do something different. But you don't think they have any overpowering type arms. They're going to have guys who are going to throw in the low 90s like everybody, and but we know that they're going to go right the first game and left the second game and right the third game in TBA for number 4. So that's about all we have, honestly.
I think when we talked to you after the Swatters Club, you mentioned Kojal is a guy that needed to swing the bat. It seems like he had a pretty good weekend this past weekend. Has he made it hard on you to force his way into the lineup?
Yeah, he's done a good job of. I mean, if you look at it, through his eyes, he transferred in here from an SEC school, and he's a guy we recruited hard out of high school, and I think we came in second. And he goes somewhere else for a year, and he gets to play a lot, DHs a lot, hits 280, hits a few home runs, goes out and plays in the Cape, does okay. But he loves baseball and he likes to work, and he hasn't complained. Sousa's played great since pretty much the day he got back, and so yeah, it's made it tough on me trying to figure out where to play him. It's almost to the point where I might have to move him to another position a little bit, and he'll get to play some second base. But where's his future? So I'll have these talks with him. We'll see how it goes. And is he going to be a third baseman, a second baseman, a corner outfield, or is he going to be a catcher? I don't know. But the bat's coming on. He's not striking out, swinging and misses as much. He's powerful, but he's been going the other way. And, to us early in fall ball, and probably most of fall ball, then early in the spring, I guess January, when we got back and we're scrimmaging, I just think he overswings. He's trying to hit every ball 500 feet, and, started making a two-strike adjustment. I mean, that's part of our offense. And if you don't do it, it's hard to play you. And I think he found out most of his good hits after January, or this January, early February, have been with 2 strikes. I mean, the game the other day, he got a single to right with 2 strikes. It's third at bat or second at bat, the same thing. And shorten the swing, don't swing so hard. We'll take that earlier in the count and to the box with you. And he's done a good job with that. But I appreciate the way he's just continued to work.
And Diggs, I know it's being 100% health wise is one thing, but how close is he maybe to being back to his pre-injury self?
Well, what you do is, to judge that, evaluate, obviously use your eyes, but at the same time, you can, look at some technology and look at his bat speed, what his numbers were and where they are now. And they weren't up, the first couple of weeks, but now starting to get there. And I think it's showing up a little bit in his exit velocity and BP. How's it coming off the barrel? And he mishit a ball the other day. Not mishit, he got out front on a pitch and hooked it down the right field line for a home run, and hit some balls the other way. Obviously when the guy hasn't run and played in game speed, you can simulate as best you can. But the first week out, he kind of lightly tweaks a hammy, but it seems to be okay now. So we didn't run him real hard in the scrimmages, and I think he's going to be better than ever. I think he's got some people around him that are going to make each other better, because if he doesn't get it done, then that guy can get it done. I mean, there's more pieces to our offense than we had last year.
And Logan Maxwell's a guy that I think has been dealing with a hamstring or something, hadn't been running. How's he doing health wise? What's his stats for this weekend?
And that's something he's dealt with in his career. And he's very strong, lower half. This year, he's come in here and gained some weight, really a lot of strength in the upper body, but we leave his legs alone. He seems to be about 90% as of today. And And if we played today, he would start offensively, whether he's DHing or playing in the outfield. Uh, he's one of our best hitters in the fall and early spring, and laid down an incredible bunt the other day and tweaked it on the way down. The good thing was he shut it down immediately, and that's when you kind of realize that maybe he's done this before, and but he'll be fine.
With his induction coming up, just was curious what you remember about coaching Jeff King.
Yeah. So, Jeff King and I kind of came in around the same time. I was in pro ball, came back to coach in January of '85. And Jeff was here, young player. And when Coach O'Brien turned the infielders over to me, then I had him full time. And we had a really good infield. All four of our infielders in the next year or two signed professional. And Jeff you could just tell he was a little different talent. I mean, when he took batting practice, guys tried to pay attention because it was fun to watch. The ball came off his bat a little differently than some of the other guys. Had a really strong arm. He could run. He looked the part. And, it was interesting just watching some of the so-called brass come in from Major League Baseball his junior year to watch us play and practice. And I remember the day that the GM for the Pirates came in, and that was a lot of years ago, but I remember it because it was a big deal. You're thinking, wow, they got the first pick in the draft, and they ended up selecting him, I think 1-1 that year, and then obviously later in his career he was traded to the Royals, and he had a good career. He actually got out a little early. I don't think he was done physically, but I think mentally he had enough. And he's from Colorado. I think now he lives in Wyoming, and he hadn't been back to the campus since he left until maybe a year or two ago when he was honored for something. And just happy for him and his family. And he definitely needs to be in the College Baseball Hall of Fame.
Gabe gets the ball tomorrow, and hasn't made a start in college baseball, but he's got all these All-American honors coming in. I mean, how have you seen him deal with these expectations this year?
Yeah, he gets the ball Friday. I'm not playing tomorrow, as far as I know. I mean, you may know more than I do. I don't know. It's Gabe. You got to know Gabe. He is just, this is the guy that's getting all this recommendation and, about how great he is and what he's going to do in preseason this. And, I think that I don't think it'll affect him. Now, he's going to have his great days. He's going to have some good days, and he'll have a day or two and doesn't go great. He's been here a year and a half, and our hitters have only got him one time, and that was last weekend. And he was not happy about it. In his bullpen the other day, I think he had a little something to prove, and Coach Hobbs said it was amazing, just because he's not happy with the way he pitched. And so that's going to happen. He's human, but we're hoping that it doesn't affect him. That's what we see, his personality, his makeup, work ethic. He doesn't say a whole lot. He's not a rah-rah guy. Now, he can get fired up if he gets a big out when he needs it, but he's been through all the situations. I mean, we brought him in. You think about last year down in Arlington, we bring him in with the bases loaded and, I don't know, 1 out against Oklahoma State or no outs, and he gets out of it. He might have got one call that went our way on a full count. But other than that, I mean, he's been amazing. So he's been in tough situations starting. That's what he did his whole life. And highly touted coming out of high school, and he made a decision that I'm going to college, and it's going to pay off for him.
How do you envision, I know it's early, but Christian Fouch this weekend moving forward? I mean, is it really the goal to kind of get him to be able to pitch twice a weekend or maybe 2 innings and one appearance? I mean, how do you envision using him this year?
I think that sometimes throughout the year we'll use him twice. I don't think it'll be back-to-back with him. It could be Friday, Sunday. If we just use him to get out a hitter in the bottom of the ninth on the road on a Saturday and we play again Sunday, maybe we can go again. So he'll be tested on that a little bit. Example, this past weekend we threw him on Friday. We played, what did we do? Two scrimmages, kind of broke up on Saturday. Didn't go Sunday. Well, the idea was 2 or 3 of those guys come back and throw Sunday. But since we didn't go Sunday, the guys came up here and finished out like an inning. They came up and got loose and they went full bore for an inning, X amount of pitches inside, just to simulate what you're talking about. So, yeah, we're going to use him whenever he's ready to go, we'll use him.
Cole Gilbert had a couple of rough outings. He said he was working on some mechanics afterward, came back pretty good. Just what does that tell you about him as a freshman that he was able to do that?
Well, we loved it. We kind of made the comment, well, Cole's back. We need him. He almost had the immaculate inning. He struck out at first hitter on 3 pitches, struck out the second hitter on 3 pitches, had the third hitter down 0-2, and he made contact. And it was a ground ball to second or something. And that was the inning. Very rare. I don't think I've ever seen it. And probably have. Smith probably did it. But yeah, he had a great inning, and we let that roll. We shut him down. He's one of the guys we're going to throw again. But which says a lot about, him. He was, again, these guys take it personal, and he's fiery. We've tried to calm him down a little bit, the adrenaline thing. It can be a good thing, but it can also, it takes you out of the zone. And his stuff's good enough where he doesn't have to come in there with fire coming out of his nose. You know what I'm saying? He's good. And so we're just glad that he showed us and our team that was just a bad outing. And it happens. And that's why you have more than 6 or 7 pitchers. You see that. Now we've seen it. If we see it early, we can get him. And maybe he won't recover that day. So then we get him back out there the next day or two.
And Wiggins, I think you started him the first couple of weeks of the preseason, and I think you closed him this past weekend. Is that intentional? Kind of give him a taste of what it would look like in that role?
Yeah, I think, the starting part first is, I feel like he can be a starter here. And he could start on Tuesday, he could start on the weekend. Still got to learn some of the other things like finishing hitters off, and it's about location. It was really cold the other day, and he's touching 98 like it's nothing. He looks like he's playing catch. A lot of talent there, a lot of potential. He's still young, still learning. But yeah, get him a little bit of feel for starting, but at the same time, get him some feel of coming out of that bullpen and getting a big out or giving us 2 innings, whatever the case may be. And that's why we play a lot of preseason games. We got some really good teams. Those guys are going to get to show us what we need to do down the road. And our goal is to try to get it figured out as best we can before we go to Ole Miss.
I know we're going to talk to Diggs and McIntyre in a minute, but what do those guys mean to this program? How valuable are they on the field and off the field as well?
Well, obviously having guys in your program that have been here for a few years is very valuable with the new guys coming in, whether they're freshmen or transfers, just to maybe reflect on what's gone on, seasons gone by when they've been here. Those guys have been to Omaha. They've been eliminated in their own regional twice. They've had the highest of highs and lowest of lows, and they both struggled. Max struggled after being first comes in here. We don't even really acknowledge him, and then few conversations, we give him the ball. Next thing you know, he's going on Tuesdays the rest of the year. Next thing you know, it he's pitching his tail off in Omaha. So you just never know how it's going to go. And Kendall's been in and out of the lineup and full-time starter since he was a freshman, has the injury, and batting average drops 150 points. We keep playing him. And if he hadn't got hurt, he wouldn't be here. He would have been drafted. And probably could have been anyway if he would have signed for not much. And they would have healed him up and he'd be at spring training. But he decided to come back. So having those two in our locker room is big. And I think, and again, I keep calling it modern day Division I baseball. Having some guys that have been in your program for a couple, 3 years I think it's just big for the rest of the team.
Got one more with Will. I know you've had great players from all over the country, you got guys from Australia and Canada this year. Just when you get an in-state guy like Will, who grew up loving the Razorbacks, just is there value to that? Like, how much does that help a guy like that whenever he comes in here when he's grown up around the program and everything?
Well, I think it's huge for your program. In-state kids, and I say this all the time. We want to get all the best players in the state. Sometimes we may miss on one or one develops later. all these new rules and roster cuts, it makes it difficult. You got to have kids that, that really want to be here. But if you can get an in-state player that grown up, coming to some of our games, whether they're from 3 or 4 hours away or right down the street, and you can just see a little bit of a difference. A guy like Wood, I mean, he bleeds Razorback red, and we appreciate that. And I think the players see that. And you guys got guys that are here for 1 year. We hope we can instill some of that in them. They followed us from afar, and they've seen, our games on TV, and probably thought, wow, it'd be fun to play there. We end up getting them. We hope they end up having, a little bit of that inside of them, that they love being here because, it's important to our fans and the state. But the in-state kids, we still need to get as many of those guys as we can. And again, with the new rules, it makes it more difficult because we have to make sure that we're getting a guy that can compete at the highest level in this league. And this league is, I say it every year, but it's going to be super old. And I haven't said that about it being old. I've just said it gets better, and it does get better because the draft used to be 40 rounds and now it's 20. Kids can transfer. Some of this, you can fill in some of the spots, and you hope you get the right makeup guy. And, the days of, I guess, 3 freshmen or 2 freshmen starting in the field and 1 starter on the weekend and maybe 2 or 3 in the bullpen that are big pieces, maybe it's a lot less than it used to be. You're going to see a lot of teams that are sophomores, a couple, and then maybe 1 freshman sneaks in, but it's going to be juniors, seniors, a lot of juniors. And it's the same way this year with our league. I mean, if you go around and you look at, A&M, that's number 1 in every poll, they filled in with some guys. They got some guys to come back that were draft eligible, which was amazing. And you guys can figure out how. And LSU did, and, Tennessee, and Auburn and Ole Miss. I mean, you just go and you look at the rosters and you're going, wow, they're all juniors. And they, there's a good chunk of them. And the same with ours. We've lost our starting outfield, every one of them, the last 3 years, whether mostly through the draft or ran out of eligibility. It makes it tough. So teams are old, teams are good.
Good. Coach, thanks for your time. We'll see you
Okay.
Friday.